Okay, so here we are for the next part of the angel kit. This says that color CC is light pink. I do not think that this is light pink. I think this is light tan. But this, pretty clearly not light pink, and matches the box. So this is our yarn. I don't really know why it is wrapped like this, but I'm just gonna undo that and get started. So arms, we're gonna start in this color and then switch to white, I would assume, because that's what the box looks like. And I'm gonna do a magic loop instead of is there a knot there? I'm gonna do a magic loop instead of the chain 2 because I like it better for things that we'll actually be seeing. So yarn over my finger, bring the tail around, hook under the tail, grab the working yarn. I'm not so sure how I feel about this hook, but that's okay. Pinch. Okay. I'm gonna single crochet just to secure, and then I'm just gonna do 6 single crochet, join with a slip stitch. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So here we have 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet, 4 single crochet, 5 single crochet, 6 single crochet, and I'm gonna tighten this up. And now we're supposed to join with a slip stitch. So insert under that stitch, first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull through the loop on your hook. Now the other hook that came with the kit, I didn't really have a problem with, but this one is kind of flimsy and I'm a little bit afraid of breaking it. So now we're just going to chain 1, and then in this first stitch here and each stitch around, we're going to do 2 single crochet. So 1 single crochet in that stitch, 2 single crochet in that stitch, like so, and then 2 around for a total of 12. So here is our little sideways chain. The one before it is our slip stitch, so we're not going to work into either of those. So we just did 2, this will be 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 stitches, and that brings us to our slip and our chain. So I'm going to finish this out and I'll be back. Okay, so here we are at the end of the 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 our joining slip stitch and our chain, and now we are going to join to our first single crochet with a slip stitch, and then 3 to 5 we are just going to single crochet in each stitch around, but then in the last stitch or the last round we're going to change colors. So for me that means I'm not going to complete my last single crochet until I do the color change. So chain 1, single crochet, 1 single crochet in each stitch around like so until we get back to the beginning, remembering that we will have our slip stitch to join and our chain 1 that we're not going to work into, and we're going to kind of skip over. So I'll be back when it's time to change the colors. So I'm about to start row 5, and before I do that I'm going to secure my tail in here from my magic circle, because that can sort of loosen itself if you don't. And this does have, I didn't say earlier, this does have your right side marking so that you know that this was wanting to curl this way as I was working, but this side facing us when we start is our right side, so we want to keep that facing out. Now I'm going to turn it inside out to weave in the end, but this is our wrong side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to knot this down like under a nearby stitch, and then just weave it in a little, and then just honestly probably shove it back in there or trim it, since this will be inside something. So I'm just going to go under, and then let me pull that up a little bit, and then just slide my needle under there. I tighten this down pretty good, and then I'll just weave the end in kind of back and forth or what have you. And then just, it's kind of a long one, so I'll probably trim it. And then I will just, like so, and I will continue on. My hook seems somewhat fussy. Okay, so I guess I'll just go on and do this row then. So at the end, we're going to start our last crochet, but we're not going to complete it, and we are going to switch colors then. You could do a different type of color change. There are a lot of different like tutorials and articles online about, because a lot of this stuff with crochet, there's not a correct way, so to speak, like things like color changes and things like that. There's just different people's methods. So here we are. This is our last stitch of the round. This is our joining slip, and this is our chain one. So I'm going to insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to grab my white, and I'm just gonna loop this around my hook, pull it through both loops on the hook, tighten that tan down, and then I'm going to do my slip stitch to join, and I'm gonna do that kind of with the yarn, the white tail in between. So just gonna come under there, pull through here, and then I'm going to do my chain one, and then now I'm gonna pull this up, take my hook out, and I'm gonna trim my tan or pink, if you want to call it that. I'm gonna take this tail, and I'm gonna take this tail, and I'm just gonna tie them together. I'm just gonna double knot them. The first knot I'm not going to do quite as snug as the second one, because I don't want my stitch there to get too small. And then I could weave these in, or I could just trim them a little. I don't feel like weaving them in right now, so we're just going to trim, tuck back, and now we are ready to continue with our white in our next step. So now we're just going to be single crocheting each stitch around for a lot of rows to finish off the arms. So I'm just gonna kind of truck on through there. Now this time our slip will be white, and that's fine, but this stitch here that I slip stitch into, this is still our first stitch. So I'm going to single crochet into here, and then here is my joining slip stitch, and here is my chain. So this is the last stitch of that round, and I'm just going to be single crocheting in each stitch around. Let me write down these rows for rows 6 through 20, and that'll take a while, but I'll do that off camera and be back. So So I'm partway through completing my rows, and I just wanted to again show this. This was one of the areas that I had more trouble with when I was learning. So this is where I'm going to join again. These stitches tend to get a little smaller sometimes as I go, as things get tighter. But this was the last stitch of my row. This is my join. Now this little guy is my chain, so this is the stitch that I'm going to slip stitch to join. And another thing is, I like to keep when I'm working in something like this, keep just the tip of my finger, my middle finger, inserted in here, so that number one, I don't accidentally grab any of the stitches from this side or any of the threads from this side and crochet both sides together, and because then I just kind of use it to guide the tip of my crochet hook up. So that's a thing that I like to do, just to make sure that I don't make any mistakes and crochet both sides together, which I have done before, and just to help keep the shape as I go along and keep things where I want them. So that's all. Oh, and as far as counting goes, this is different from, like on the unicorn, we weren't joining and chaining one, right? So hopefully you can see this. You can literally see the ridge where the joins and the chains are, and actually you can see it in this as well. And so here you can know where your new rows start, but even so, since they're level, I'm gonna start on this side of my join, because these are the rows that I've done. So I have here 6 as my first row of white, 7, 8, 9, and then I'm starting 10 over here. So I think it's a little bit easier to count in this situation, because you have this kind of raised divider letting you know where your rows start. So it's just a little bit easier for me. And then down here where your circle is, you have your initial, like, beginning as your row 1, and then kind of just each ring being another row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this little bit of tan here is just your change, your previous change that this first row of stitches is around. So that's just a little bit of how to count in when you're joining and chaining one in the round. So here we are at the end of row 20. I'm gonna just, before I fasten off, I'm just gonna pull that loop out, stuff this. I really am worried that we're not gonna have enough stuffing for everything, but I guess we'll see. So I just have little tufts, because it makes it, I think it makes it easier to get it kind of spread around evenly. And I don't think it really has to be super firm or anything, just kind of enough to hold its shape. So now I'm going to fasten off by slip stitching to the first single crochet of my last round, and it says to leave a long tail for sewing. Let me tighten that down. So I will cut this a ways down, making sure I leave enough to sew this on, and then we will see what's next. Now normally if I'm making more than one of something like 2 arms, you know, you're supposed to make 2, I'll do it right away. I think it's better because they're more likely to be more similar if you do them right after the other. But I'm not going to do it this time, but I am noticing that there's definitely something not the same about these instructions and this picture on this box, because color B is tan, and this heart and these hands and this head are all the same color, and according to this, these are supposed to be light pink and the head is supposed to be tan, but they're the same color. And this is my tan, which is fine, I'm just not really sure why the hands are a different color. I don't really get it. So this is hair color. I really don't think that hair is supposed to be the same color as head. Do we change colors? No, we don't change colors. I'm thinking that that is a mistake and that this is supposed to be done with this yarn because that makes sense, and there's some type of typo or something with the instructions, at least in my kit. So I'm not sure what yours says. I don't have any idea if you can read that. But that says color A white, color B tan, color C light pink. I have no light pink. And color B is hair color. I don't know why you would make the head and the hands different color. So we're going to work with this color for the head, because why wouldn't we? It matches the hands. And we don't really want it to be the exact same color as the hair, because then it won't show. So alrighty. So this again tells us our right side. We are going to probably whichever end of the head this is on. It's probably fine to do the chain 2 instead of the magic circle, because it won't be like that visible, because it should either be the neck or the top of the head, which should be covered by the hair. So I'm going to make a slip knot, yarn over my thumb. I'm going to take my working yarn, put it through the loop, grab it, pull it up, pull the tail down, and then I'm going to chain 2, yarn over, pull through the loop, yarn over, pull through the loop, and then 6 single crochet in the second chain for my hook. This is the first chain for my hook. This is the second chain for my hook. And again, we're going to be joining and chaining 1, so we'll be able to see where our row starts. Should be 3. I'm just working into the loop I'm creating, not into that was in that stitch, but it just kind of makes a hole, and I'm just working back into that. So 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so now we're going to count back to find where we joined to. So 1 2 3 4 5 6, join with a slip stitch. Nope, that's not where I want my hook to be. Come back under this one and under just that one. So this is our right side here, so we want this to curl this way down, not toward us. And now we're just going to do a chain 1 and an increase row, which we know how to do. That's 2 single crochet in each stitch around, and I will be back. So here we are at the end of the row. We got our slip stitch to join, and then we got our chain. So we're going to single crochet to, or we're going to slip stitch to the top of our single crochet and then chain 1. And now we are going to have a set of increase rows where we're going to be at the end, beginning of every row, chaining 1, then single crocheting in a designated number of stitches, then doing an increase and repeating that around, because we have these brackets with that instruction, and then 6 times. So we're going to do what's inside here 6 times around. So so for this first one, it's just a single crochet in the next stitch. So this same stitch here that we joined to, because that's our first stitch of the round, single crochet, and then an increase, which is 2 single crochet in 1, and then again single crochet in the next, 2 single crochet in the next. And this, when you're doing some of these stitches like this, it can get a little confusing. You might think that this is your stitch here. Just check and see if you can move your stitch around. You can look, you can see that your yarn is already worked around that stitch to find out where you're supposed to be working. So 2 single crochet in here, and then just repeat that around. Okay, so at the end of that row, when you have this set of brackets like this, unless it specifies otherwise, your last stitch of the round should be whatever the last thing in the bracket is. So like you want to end on single crocheting in the next single crochet, you would end on the increase. So there's my increase right there, and then I will slip stitch to here. Now the next one, it's just kind of going to step up each one. So this one is going to be 2 single crochet and then the increase. So 1 single crochet in this first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, and then 2 here. You can kind of count these however. A lot of times I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, and repeat that set of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes I'll just do 1, 2, 1, 2, although that can get a little confusing because then they're both 1, 2. But anyway, that is this row, and I'll be back. So we're about to start the next row, but first I just want to show that as you're looking at your work, where you do an increase, it makes a more visible hole because you have 2 stitches worked into that area, so it just makes it a little bit bigger. And so I can pick out where they are just by kind of gauging that. But if you're not sure, you can bring it up close and you can pull gently and see how this arch, this stitch, only has these 2 loops here. That's only 1 single crochet. But this one here, when you stretch, has 4. So it's just a way to, if your count is off and you're trying to figure it out, instead of having to maybe take the entire row out, you know, once you practice more, you can literally just pick out there, and actually a lot of times there'll be a slight bump as well. It's more noticeable with different yarns, but right here, here's just 1 single crochet worked into that stitch, and here's 2 single crochet worked into that stitch. We have 4 loops coming down instead of 2. So this one is going to be just the next step up. This is going to be 3 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, and then our increase all the way around. Okay, so the next one is just going to be the same thing but with 4 single crochet. So 1, 2, that's tight for some reason. I'm going to take out, that would be why. 3, 4, and then increase all the way around. Here's one thing I've noticed about this yarn. It happens with a lot of yarns, but there's a lot of variance as I'm going in the size of the yarn. It kind of gets bigger and smaller and a little frayed and such. I'm not really worried about it. It won't show up too much in this. Like, it's a little puffier, but I just did that single crochet there, and then now I'm gonna do my increase, and it's already kind of getting smaller. And this type of thing, once it's worked in there, you can't really tell. So you know, that's just the thing. Okay, so I'm at the end of my set of increase rows, and before I join, I'm going to count my stitches, check my count, see where I'm at. So this is my slip stitch, this is my chain 1, so I'm going to start counting here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, and that is how many we want to have. So I will join here, and then we're going to have a set of rows where we maintain the size and we just work 1 single crochet around. So chain 1, single crochet in each stitch, join, chain 1. I'm gonna write my rows down. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to mark them off as I go. And then I'll just be back at the end of those rows. Okay, so we're at the end of 12. This is what we got. I'm a little worried about the amount of yarn we have left. We'll use less on the decreases, but we still supposedly need this for the other hand and the heart, so we might have to figure something else out. But now we're going to do basically what we did earlier, just in reverse, with decreases. So we're going to start with the 4 single crochet and then decrease, and we are going to repeat that around. So single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, and then decrease. So insert under the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert under the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook, and you're going to do that all the way around. Okay, now we're just gonna do single crochet in the next 3 and decrease. I've already chained 1, so 1, 2, 3, then a decrease, and just repeating that set of stitches all the way around. Okay, now we are at single crochet in the next 2. I've already chained 1, so 1, 2, and then decrease, and then repeat that all the way around. Well, you know what, before I go any further, I just remembered I'm gonna weave my end in. So I'm just gonna, there's my needle, flip it inside out, weave this through. Now this one, since it started as a chain, is already knotted. It's not like a magic circle, so I don't really need to knot it. I'm just gonna just kind of weave this under a couple of stitches to secure it better, and keep right on going. I've said this before, I don't know if I said it on the angel yet, but when you're doing decreases, it pulls your whole stitch over to the side, so you just want to be careful not to work into this thinking it's your next stitch, because then your count will be off. So this stitch over here is your next stitch that you're going to work into, and especially when if you're stretched out in a certain way, it can be really far to the side and look like a whole stitch, but it's not. Okay, now we've got one more before we stuff. It's chain 1, and this one is just single crochet 1 and then decrease all the way around. So single crochet 1, decrease all the way around. Okay, so I did a quick stitch count to make sure that we're where we want to be. We have 12 stitches. Now we are gonna stuff and then have one more row where we're just gonna decrease in every stitch around. So here is where I really don't know if we're gonna have enough stuff. I might have to take some out of the body like I said before. So we want it to be, the head to be stuffed enough that it's gonna hold its shape and not be kind of like, you know, wrinkling or bending in like it is here, which I think will literally take all of this, if not more, and then we'll have to take some from the body for the other arm. So not sure about the amount of stuffing in this one. Yeah, see, I don't really think that that's enough. You can tell that it's not, it shouldn't stay down if I pinch like this. So I guess we'll take some from the body, and then if I have to, I'll just use some of my own if the body isn't going to seem like it's going to hold its shape nice enough. So let's spread this out a little bit. Maybe it was just compressed too much in the body. Maybe I should take that out and kind of like uncompress the fluff and see if that helps. That's better. I'm just kind of like spreading it out so it's not all just clumped in the middle, but I still think we need a little more. Okay, I think that that is not bad. I kind of wish it had maybe a little more. Okay, that looks okay to me. So we're gonna finish this up. This row will be quick. So let's see, I'm gonna join to my first single crochet over here. We're just gonna decrease each stitch around. I like to use my finger to tamp down the stuffing as I go past so it doesn't get caught in the hook and pull through the stitches. It'd be real annoying. We'll have 6 decreases at the end, and then we'll fasten off, leaving a tail to sew the opening closed. I am a little worried about having enough yarn for the other arm, so let's slip stitch to our first chain. So I am going to listen to dogs bark. I'm gonna leave a short tail just to weave this end in. So not really too long. It's probably not quite long enough, but that's not a lot of yarn, so I don't really want to use more of it than I need to. So because my tail is short, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna actually insert my needle under the stitches, and then I'm gonna thread it, pull it through, just to make sure it doesn't slide out. Now I'm going to just tie this off and just take this end in through the head. Just weave it in. Pull that up a little so that when it goes back down, it goes into the head, and there is the head. Okay, so I forgot about this part down here. Usually adding the faces comes in assembly, so I haven't thought about it. But we're supposed to stitch the eyes in place using the back stitch, and here's our thread, here's our head, here's our picture. It tells us to use as a guide. And also I'm gonna, the camera needs to be charged, so I'm gonna stop this one after this. See, this is gonna be big. I feel like I should use one of my needles, but then I'm not using the one that came with the kit. We'll use the one that came with the kit. I'm gonna stop this one after this to charge this, and that'll be just the content of this video, and then I'll do the rest of the next one. So I'm just gonna kind of go opposite to our join here, and using the photo as a guide. So let's see, I mean, we are about halfway down. We obviously don't have the hair done, but we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 visible rows to the top. I'm gonna assume that that right there is kind of around probably here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so around here, around this row is what we're looking at, I think. And then this looks like it has about 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches in between. 1, 2, 3, 3 to 4 stitches in between, and that they go over about 1, 2, 3 stitch width, I would say. They do look to me like they're a little bit higher than center, so I guess we'll start here. So to take this out, which I'll probably be doing a number of times. I'm just trying to get under here with this needle, which normally I have other needles. I have metal ones that would be better for this kind of thing. But I just try to get under the stitch and pull it out that way. This is my least favorite part of doing things like this. I don't see how this is the most efficient way to do this. I don't really understand why we're using this stitch. Okay, tell you what, we're gonna try something else, because either I don't know how to do this, or this just isn't, it's just not working great for me right now either way. So I'm gonna do, honestly, I don't remember what it's called. I think it's basically just like a, I don't even know, like a running stitch. You just use a little anchor point to pull it down to create the curve. So say we want an eye to be kind of about here. I'm going to come out here, and now I'm going to, so I want my eye to be about about 3 stitches long is what we were thinking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and then I'm going to come out down here where I want the little eyelid to drop down to. But I am not going to do it in a way that's going to create a knot. I'm not going to pull this all the way tight. This does, I think, have a name. I just can't remember it right now. Brain's kind of fuzzy. And then I'm just going to take my needle up through here, so that as I tighten this down, it pulls it down a little. I don't want to pull it too tight, because then it'll look weird. Okay, so then we're going to go right back in the same spot and just come out elsewhere for the moment. And you have to be careful how much you tighten things down during this portion, so that it is small enough so that you don't see it, but not too tight that it looks bad, basically. So tighten this down. And that's an eye. And I think we might go with that. I mean, that looks kind of like an eye. Now, I don't like how this leaves a little thing in the center there, but if she had hair, not bad. We're gonna go with that. Now, to secure this, I'm going to take this tail and I'm going to bring it over next to this one. I'm going to bring it out the same stitch, although that one looks like it's kind of in a tight area, so we're going to go through here. And I'm going to take this one and I'm going to thread the needle through first, because it's kind of a shorter length. It'll be easier that way. And then I'm going to bring it out of the same spot. And we're going to try not to overly tighten the eyes while we do it. Just kind of keep them a little loose. That one's a little crooked, but you know what? At this point, we're going to get over it. Why are you a little? I suppose I should have gone in right there. Fine. This is really my last time. Really, 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 really. I still think my unicorn looks depressed. Okay. This is like the longest part of this thing. And it's just this little quick thing. Alright, are you good enough? You're good enough for me. So we're gonna go in. We're gonna come out this spot over here. You don't want to over tighten. Well, neither of you. You look over tightened. Loosen up a little bit. And now I'm just going to knot these two together. I'm actually gonna put this under here, and I'm just gonna grab something else to put under here to try to keep this from tightening. That's too big. Here's one of my other. Here. To try to keep this from tightening too much when I tie these. I don't honestly know if it helps, but I feel like it does. And then I'm just gonna knot these and then shove them both inside the head and not worry about them anymore. So I tighten that pretty tight. And now I have all this extra that I can use for something else if I want to. Okay, go over there. I'm gonna take the bigger end and just shove the knot in, and then I will thread these through. And disappear them into the head, like so. Okay, passable. So yeah, backstitch thing wasn't working because you don't, I guess you don't have all the surface area. You got all these holes where you can't work and all this stuff. So that works for me, and I think it's easier, and there we go. So that'll be the end of this one. And next time we'll do wings and all that other stuff and see where we get. Later.